All right, hello, this is Jessica. I am here today with Pastor Tamika from Dalewood UMC. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, Jessica. My name is Pastor Tamika Robertson. I'm at Dalewood United Methodist Church, and I'm at Alders United Methodist Church in East Nashville. I've been there. This will be my second year being appointed. So I was reappointed there this year, and just looking forward to what we're going to do this season during this pandemic. Yeah.
All right, can you tell me a little bit about Dalewood UMC and the ministries that y'all are involved in?
Yeah, sure. Dalewood is right in the core of East Nashville. If you know where East Nashville is, it's I was born and raised from East Nashville, and I tell people it is not the same. It is not. It's definitely being gentrified things, but we're right in the middle of that. And so we have a plethora of partnerships. We do AA. We have the 86ers that come. We do Al-Anon meetings. We support a local high school, which is in walking distance from the church, Stratford High School. So we have a student ministry. We also have what we call BCP. It is a kind of a Mother's Day out program. We serve Monday and Wednesday. And so we have about 50 children in that. And then we also have Boy Scouts, we have Girl Scouts, we have let me see. We have a homeschool. It's called Web School that meets, and that's it's about 100 and about 100 middle school students, and they're trying to figure out how to at the high school. They tried it out last year, and it worked well. And so we have that, and we have prison. We have a prison ministry. We have a food pantry, which is much needed. We partner with Second Harvest, and we have a lot of needs in the community as far as food goes. And we just landed a partnership with Grow Nashville, so we can offer fresh fruits and vegetables to our local community. Let me see. If I think of any more, I will make sure I'll say it. But right now, off of the top of my head, those are the main ministries that we have at the church.
All right. Sounds like y'all are super involved in the community. Can you tell me a little more? Awesome. Can you tell me a little more about what volunteers do?
What our volunteers do is our church is basically, we have the age of our church. We have a lot of senior adult in our church, but they work hard. When I tell you, they really love to give back, and they see the need that the community, I always say the community is our congregation. And what can we do to meet the needs of the community? And even with not having enough hands on deck, I mean, we just come together, we pull together, we communicate, say, hey, we need X amount of people on this day, can you show up? And so our volunteers have been very faithful to this ministry as far as making sure that it thrives. I mean, and just being willing to open the door, to people and let people come in and use the space and be able to partner with them without feeling like they're coming over to take the church over, things like that. But really, they're willing to really be hands-on in the ministry. Like I've seen other churches do it, but this church that has 50 members really just is all hands-on, is all in, making sure they're cooking. They cook because we have effort preparing meals for the students, and we have to prepare per week while we was in school. We would prepare it twice on Wednesday night and Fridays, and we're feeding over 100 students a week. And so just being in partnership, whatever you can name with Boy Scouts, if there's thing that needs, they're going camping with them, they're making sure things get done. Then also being present. Sometimes people can just give money, right, and feel like they don't have to show up. But with them, it's not transactional. They're just not going to, write a check, but they're showing up and they're showing that they really want to be part of the ministry because they see that, it's very important to be connected to your community. And so the folks have been really good about volunteering, about coming. And and I'm really, really, I'm very thankful for that. Yeah. So I really encourage them. And it's just because they just have the heart to do, the work. They really want to do the work.
Did you say your church has 50 members?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, y'all really do a lot in the community y'all are tight knit and strong, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and it gets rough because sometimes it's the same ones, and but I think that because we see the importance of being in the community, that if, say for instance, if we're cooking meals, I try to teach them that we just not lone rangers, to reach out into the community, to do partnerships with other people. So we did that with, see, while I'm talking, Room in the Inn. We have Room in the Inn at Dalewood, and we have it at Aldersgate. And so even with Room in the Inn, we was already doing it at Aldersgate one night a week. But they contacted us and said, we really need you all to help us out. And so we partnered with a Dalewood Baptist Church, and then we partnered with a city church in Antioch Church, and we all came together and we was able to do another day of Room in the Inn. And so they was able to see, because sometimes it's hard to push the members to say, it's okay if allowing other people to come in and help. And it was just a beautiful thing to where 5 local churches from East Nashville came together to do a Room in the Inn because the need was so great. And so that's I just applaud them all the time and just say thank you. But we have to reach out to other people because people get burnt out. Like you said, such a small congregation, but they have a big heart, big vision, and want to do what God has called them to do. But I also say that I try to teach them to be, to understand that partnership is a way we can go to, so we won't experience, the burnout.
Mm-hmm. It's really awesome. How have y'all had to adapt during the time of a worldwide pandemic?
We had to. It was really hard for us because like I said, we was in East Nashville, so the tornado hit. We was in the middle of a tornado when we was already thinking about how can we regroup, help our community that's in need, and then COVID hit us. So right now we're still doing, COVID has a dramatic effect on us. Our church's monthly income is still the same. Our budget that we anticipated, it's like $19,000 a month, and we are taking in, $8,000 to $10,000, and we're trying to make it, and then we have our partners that, are coming in, and all our groups who we've had to switch them to Zoom meetings, and hoping that we don't lose, that valuable being in touch with our community. So we try to just communicate just effectively as possible. And it hit us real hard with the Stratford Student Ministry because we was coming up on our seniors who was graduating. We had over 20-something students that was graduating. And so we just tried to work with the staff and the students and just being there, being present. And so what really kicked up for us, really, really huge, was our food pantry, because now we're in a tornado. And, in the midst of the tornado, the aftermath of the tornado, and then you had COVID-19. So it was, for us, we were just getting calls. We were just overwhelmed, literally, with calls about food. And so we reached out to other people. Like, we had to have a pallet of water to come in because it was so many people just really needing help during this time. So, and a local church, East End United Methodist Church, they were destroyed by the tornado. And so we partnered with them, and they came in with us, and so they're with us. So, but at the same time, we still have the same amount of we got we got the same amount of utilities and things with no help. You know what I'm saying? And so we have more people there, but our you know but the resources still is not there. And so we, like I said, we have a big heart. It's just, it's tough. I mean, it really hit us hard. Our projected expenses remain the same. When the storm came through, it's like we got hit again. We had this tree, right, that was over $3,000, and we're like, oh my God, but we have to get it removed. So, it really affected us really hard, because we had to keep up our kitchen, because now we have another church there. We have the homeschool that was still coming in. And so, we had, and then we have staff, DCP, the staff there. And so just trying to figure out how we're going to continue to have staff there who needed, a living wage still, that needed to know that they was important and we needed them, and not to be able to lose our staff. So so it has really, really affected us. And then, like I said, they're older in groups. Of technology was something that, that had to be taught, and we had to work out our kinks with that, and that was kind of frustrating with some of the older members who never ever used Zoom before, or some of the other social networks. And so we, going live was something, about technology, of teaching them how to, be in a world that's not so normal anymore. So, we faced all those challenges. Yeah. And we still facing them today,
Yeah. Whew, that sounds difficult. How have y'all seen God's provision during this time?
Well, definitely. So when we have our monthly council board meeting, and I mean, we just all are in awe of just thanking God that we are able to pay the staff. I mean, when the grant came, that from the CARES Act came, the first time we was able to apply for it, it was too late. The money ran out. And so just seeing God make provisions when we're like, where is this coming from? People were really giving, during that time. So we could keep our staff. So we could, provide them and not have to furlough them, and things like that. And so I really seen God move in that way. And I've seen it on the hearts of people through not only just giving, but just being able to understand where we at during this time, and just having the patience, just not being so anxious of just to get back into church, but really seeing the need of, okay, we can't come back together in the way that we normally would. So how can we be effective in our community? And just seeing God work just so strongly with that, of keeping us together, keeping us on one accord, keeping us continuing to pray. We pray once a week. We have a conference call where we pray once a week with those who still are having trouble with technology and things. And so we really just try to think about others, even during this pandemic. And I've just seen God work, because not only do we have that pandemic, we have the racial pandemic, that's going on, the racial tensions. And, me being there, I'm the first person of color, a pastor they've had, and then a woman pastor. So that's two, that's double on them. And so, and I can just see God just moving in such a special way, of even that, of bringing that to a full circle of how can we work together, and knowing that we can get through this, but we couldn't do it, separate, but how can we do it together? And so I've just seen God just move in so many ways, of people who I had a Sunday where we did testimony service, and they just got and they shared. They said they never ever was able to voice out what God has done for them, and it made a huge impact, for the people in the church. And so I've seen God move in mighty ways, and that people will, call back and say thank you so much, for the food, or just being present right on time, or we're praying together. We're doing our weekly prayer call of how can we meet our next bills. The pastor has to be paid. I mean, all these things have to be paid, and to just come back together and say, look what God did. We just believed by faith that it was going to happen, and we just stuck to it, and we seen God just do some miracles. People from the community volunteer saying, hey, I see what y'all do at Stratford. This one man came and he said, I seen that your lines in your parking lot need to be painted. So, hey, and just wrote a little note, said, thank you for what you do for our community. So, those things may be small, but it's really huge for people who are truly leaning on God for everything, that we've given and given and given. And so, by faith, we just continue to just really work and try to be, and be the mission that God has called us to be, and that's making disciples for Christ, for the transformation of the world.
That's awesome. Do you have any stories of transformation you'd like to share with the congregation?
I think that I think with the student ministry, because we've had some difficulty, because so during the school year, we had to transition from Aldersgate to Dalewood, because the ministry just grew, right? They had like 10 to 15 to 18 students, and we moved to like 48. And so, but we had to move for the students to just, for their graduation to come back, they sent they did a video clip, all of them, and they was just saying, thank you so much for just being there, being present, praying for us, making sure that, we were safe going home and all those things. And I think for me, that was transformation for the church to see that God is still working in our ministry. And even with the prison ministry, a lot of people, I was a chaplain former chaplain at a Lois D. Berry Special Needs Facility. That's a prison in Nashville. And a lot of people don't really understand the prison ministry, but really want to know how to get involved. And so instead of them saying, no, you do too much, don't go to the prison, you're doing it, they was like, well, how can we help you with this ministry? And so they said that we want a prison ministry. And so we had people who would come by the church who was ex-offenders or whatever, who really needed some assistance during this time, and people who were afraid, or didn't know how to, talk to people like that. I was just seeing people just welcome others in, being about helping the poor and the oppressed and marginalized. And again, it wasn't just transactional work, but really being present with people. And so I've witnessed God transform people, the people inside the pew, because I will push them a little farther just to, keep pushing them and keep pushing them to move forward. And I've seen God transform people who, for myself, who wasn't really trusting of me because of my color and being a woman pastor. But I've seen them move towards, now they're my greatest allies, and that, so that for me is God just transforming heart and mind. And that's something that I couldn't do. It was nothing but the Holy Spirit, really working on their hearts to, you know, so like the Stratford, the student ministry, which is, you know, 94% African American, and then you have the prison, and then, you know, had to adjust with me. But I see that, you know, through all those three things, that I've seen God transform some lives. I mean, we lost some people, some people left because they, you know, they felt it was too much for them. But I've seen those who um, stood stood by me and really know that God is who He is. I've seen God transform their heart from the time I've gotten there to now. I've really seen God move.
That's really powerful. I like how you said it's not transactional. I think that's very important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So how can Brentwood UMC be in support?
I mean, like I said, during this time, we're really, I mean, we're struggling from week to week, making sure that we're able to, again, pay our staff, do everything that we need to do. I mean, we have to, you know, when we come back, we have to have, you know, the necessary things whenever we're able to come back, you know, and it's just that we're called upon in the community to make sure that we are supporting our local community with food, with just basic necessities. I mean, we get called on all the time. And in Stratford, there's other churches there, and I've reached out to them about, hey, you know, we need some help, but I really can't get people to partner with us. And so all of that, we just don't have, we have the heart, and Dalewood has the heart to move and do all these things. It's just, we're just lacking resources to be able to sustain it. And, you know, it has to be sustainable. And so that's some of the things that we've been truly praying for. And so I know with volunteers, that's some way, resources, just being able to connect with a church like Brentwood. So Dalewood could see that, you know, the ministry so they won't be burnt out, because it's so powerful and they're so needed. And so those are some of the ways. I mean, Dalewood has been a staple in the community for 70 years, and they want to continue to go, you know, that way. But with approximately 200 kids a week, you know, all these things are still, we still have to do it, and we don't have, you know, the resources to continue on that level. And I think for me, that's the disheartening part, is that, you know, when folks they really want to do it. So again, resources and volunteering, that is two major things that we could really use help with, because even though the students are not in, they still call us, you know, to help. And we have weekly appointments where people come in and they have to get, you know, food and things. And so yeah, it can be very difficult. I mean, the expensive supplies that we have to have, you know, all those things, they really matter.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So how can we specifically be in prayer?
I think just remembering, we've had I've done one member's funeral, passed away with COVID-19. And then at Aldersgate, we had a member who had it, but was fighting for about a good 3 months and finally came over. So those definitely that during this pandemic of our senior folks, that's why we haven't set a date to come back together, that are at high risk levels. So that is one, you can pray with us with that. But then also we have a lot of members that have been diagnosed with cancer and, you know, just different kind of illness during this time. And being away from, not being able to be with their families like they normally would, is really, you can just see the morale of the people, you know. And then for us to still be connected to the community in a way that's safe, and that we won't do any harm to the community, and that we will be able to come out of this stronger than we were, you know. So those are some really specific ways that really could help and pray with us. Yeah, and those who still are being affected by the tornado, you know, because you know, everything just stopped pretty much, you know, and was just dropped. And so those are some needs that people in the community really are still struggling with.
Yeah. So that was the last specific question I had. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
No, I just want to say thank you for reaching out to us. You know, sometimes you you do work, but people don't notice. You know, that you're on the ground working really hard, and it's not to get a pat on the back, but I just try to make sure that the folks know at Dalewood that I see you. You know, I see what you're doing. I appreciate what you're doing. So for Brentwood to turn around and say, "Hey, what do you need?" To me, that's really powerful. You know, to not just say, "Well, we have everything, resources over here," but just to look at outside, you know, of those who are really trying to do work and are struggling. And we're right there in, you know, in Nashville. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Mm-hmm.
Y'all are doing powerful work. Thank you for letting me meet with you and hear your stories and everything.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. Thank you for reaching out. Good to meet you.
Thank you. Hold on.